We now proceed to Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As an Afghan veteran, I would openly state that I think our withdrawal from Afghanistan was an abject failure and probably the worst in our history. I'm a history teacher of evolutionary warfare here in the United States and amphibious warfare, and so as a student of the game, I think we've dissected that enough. So I'm going to move on to some of the more germane things that I'm worried about here and that apply to your experiences. According to the January 5th Reuters article, ISIS, based in Afghanistan, was responsible for the most recent suicide bombings in Iran that killed nearly 100 people. In addition to that, we have well-documented instances of how the Afghan Taliban are treating their female population, which we're all abhorred by. Reports are that the Taliban have harbored ISIS and al-Qaeda leaders since our withdrawal, and of course we know there are easily over 20 terrorist bases for training in Afghanistan that we know of. All that said, in October, we looked at the Afghanistan government and announced its plan to become formally part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative and request to become part of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Obviously bad players. Now the Taliban, though, according to my information, the CIGAR testified in November that 37 NGOs reported that they provided a total of $10.1 million in taxes and fees to the Taliban. That's from us. The problem I have with the way that we're running our coordination with the CIGAR is that when Mr. West, when you said, I think, and I quote, al-Qaeda is at their lowest capability in Afghanistan in decades, which I heard when I first came in, all those things I just stated are still true. And it doesn't diminish the fact that they are actually building a presence that's literally in contrast to every single thing we're trying to achieve, both in Afghanistan and globally in our strategic initiatives, in my opinion. And the other thing that you said, I think, and I'm not going to paraphrase on this, but that you did an excellent job in responding to the CIGAR responses to their questions. But I think there's a big difference between a response and being responsive. And I want to go over a couple things that have been presented to me as evidence of what I think is in contrary to what you just stated. We have 30 outstanding requests for information by the state that you have yet to fully comply with, which affects the ability of the CIGAR to accomplish their initiatives. The state's rationale for not providing this information seems unreasonable to me, at least. In some cases, blatantly absurd because it suggests the desire to obstruct the CIGAR itself, and that it seems to be coming from our own State Department. I don't understand what that purpose is or why we're not complying with something that literally inhibiting them to be able to get information that's unclassified to do their job. Why would we possibly have a reason to obstruct the very agency that we appointed to get to the bottom of the problem? Why would we work against ourselves for accountability? It makes no sense to me. I think that when we talk about this frivolous rationale that was used by the state to justify this delays in responsiveness, they even used the Freedom of Information Act exemption to justify withholding information from the auditor. That makes no sense to me, and I'd like your response on that in a second. I'm gonna pile on here. I only have 5 minutes. I got to get this all out. But basically, I didn't understand also why the department has now placed the restrictions on the unclassified information, everything else. I don't understand. We have an obviously bad actor. We have an accountability agent. We're giving money to bad actors. And then the state is literally saying, I don't want you to have the response you need or the information you need to do your job. Can you respond?
Thank you. These are important questions. So first, I'll offer an example of the kind of concern we have. We don't want any information about our implementing partners out there in the public domain that's going to put a target on them inside Afghanistan.
When you say implementing partners, what are you referring to?
I'm not going to get into specifics about exactly which the organizations we rely on to deliver humanitarian aid. So CIGAR has a job, right? And
like USAID?
We respect. But we want to be sure that if they want to talk directly to our implementing partners, that they respect the absolute sensitivity of that information, because if they publish it, the Taliban can read, and they can then target those organizations for their activity. That's one example. You know, as I said to the chairman, I'll look into these 30 outstanding requests. It's a fair question. Let me turn to my colleague on this question as well.
Certainly, just to add to what Special Representative West offered, you know, we fully agree with the importance of oversight and accountability for all of our work. We are fully cooperating with SIGAR. We've had something like 370 engagements with SIGAR over the past year or so. I will get you the exact number. We have teams here in Washington and with our Afghan Affairs unit overseas that are dedicated to producing material in response to all of their questions and doing so in a production schedule that both we and SIGAR find workable. As the Special Representative offered, there have been times when we've had to negotiate out some of the questions where we have concerns because of the potential risk that the provision of certain information would create for the Afghan people. We've been able to do that successfully, but sometimes that has resulted in a process that's been slower than we're satisfied with, and certainly than I think at times SIGAR has been satisfied with. But I've met with Mr. Sopko, as my colleague has, several times, had very good positive conversations, and we are doing our utmost, given how important it is for us to be responsible to the American taxpayer, to make sure that we are providing SIGAR with all of the information that it needs so that it can help us do our job better and help support this committee as well.
So I'm out of time. I'm just going to make the statement that you and the SIGAR have a different opinion of the experience you're having with each other. And I think that's important to note, that if the one accountability agency we have that represents us, the people, if you will, and our representatives, if they're not satisfied, that means we're not satisfied. So I hope we do a better job.
Thank you.